We have all heard the saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Life gave Lori Jones lemons and she made coffee. Lori is the owner and CEO of Blackology Coffee Company, a coffee company based in Raleigh, North Carolina, whose focus is to cultivate a love of black coffee by the way of the community, the development of relationships, and the tool of education. Lori's journey is inspiring because she birthed Blackology after being laid off from her job as a professional chef due to the COVID pandemic. Her story has been featured throughout multiple media outlets, and her company, although in its early stages, is thriving and blessing her community. It was definitely my pleasure to sit down and chop it up with her as she shared her story and her love of coffee. Lori Jones, a dope person doing dope things.
First thing I wanted to know before we get into anything else, you're the first person that I had on who is actually in the coffee business.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to ask this question. Can you hear me? I'm outside. I know we got planes going over my head and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Can
you
you hear
good.
me? Okay. Uh, I've always wanted to ask this question, and I intend to ask this question to everybody who I talk to who's in the coffee business. When did you first fall in love with coffee?
Man, I can tell you all the way back to high school, like 2004. Like I've been a diehard Starbucks fan for a while, believe it or
Okay.
not. But like real good coffee, like pour over black coffee,
Mm-hmm.
about 2009, 2010.
2009, 2000. What got you into it?
I went to a place called Solar Cafe.
Okay.
It's a coffee bar here in Raleigh. And I went and sat down at the bar one day. It was something different. I'm like, so what to pour over and what do you recommend?
Okay.
The barista gave me an Ethiopia pour over.
It's my
That was
favorite.
my first experience.
Okay.
She was like, drink it black first. She was like, drink
Yeah.
it black, experience it. It tastes different than it would if you get it from drip. I'm like, okay. And that was like my first, oh my God, coffee has flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of hooked you right then and there.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
been tasting flavors ever since then.
Ever since, man. I just find it interesting because everybody has a different kind of story about how they got involved in coffee. I actually started drinking coffee when I was like 5. with my grandmother. They used to have them card games and stuff they used to play. And you used to want to be over there with the grown-ups and they was drinking coffee. And so she would fix the grandkids more milk and sugar than coffee, but put it in a coffee cup and you kind of think that you grown. So that was kind of my first experience. But I'm like you. I actually got really diving into black coffee, how you supposed to drink it, after I attended a coffee class, a cupping class in Arlington, Texas.
Okay.
And I just did it on a whim. And then I went and I was like, oh, so coffee is intense. Coffee is scientific. Coffee is just as complex as wine.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how in depth it was. So yeah, that from that point on, I was hooked, man. And I applaud you for doing what you do. Speaking of doing what you do, your story of how you started Blackology, man, is motivating. It's inspiring, and I don't even want to. I'm gonna let you tell it. It kind of break it down to me how Blackology got started.
So honestly, I tried to launch now it's 4 years ago. We're in a new year. About 4 years ago, I tried to launch. And I had found a roaster down in Florida roast for me. I was chasing flavors, trying to get, the right roast, the right blends, all of that. Didn't work out. Ordered product, never received it. And gave up hope for a little while.
Okay.
So after that, COVID, is where we pick back up with this story. And I was a chef for a sorority house at UNC.
Okay.
Wonderful group of girls. Um, COVID shut down the university, and we all lost our jobs.
Right.
So I won't lie. Initially going into it, I was depressed. I had no desire to, like, it wasn't even a thought in my mind that I was gonna launch a business. I'm like, all right, cool. So one night, like after actually weeks of crying. Like
Mhm.
it was like I sat up in the bed in the middle of the night, and God was like, "It's time." I'm like, "No, I don't have the funding to do this. I don't have
Right.
the supplies to do this. We're not supposed to question them, but I had my,
Oh, most definitely.
talking back and forth. But he was like, do it, just do it. Everything you need is gonna come to you. Just do it. And I did it within a week. The website was up. I had some product. I didn't have a lot of product when I first launched. But I had enough to get me going. And then ABC 11 have reached out shortly after I launched, I think 5 days after I launched. And they were like, hey, can we come do an interview? And I'm like, sure. Like I didn't think it was a real thing. And then aired the same night, and like everything blew up. Like I'm never gonna forget. That's gonna be a moment that I never forget.
Right.
Seeing myself on TV, social media going crazy,
Right.
going crazy, and this journey since then. I didn't talk too much about the coffee. I kind of talked about where it came from, what it tastes like, but the coffee's been speaking for itself.
Right.
In most cases. So I'm like, I'm confident now with this business that it is going to change the lives of people that drink coffee. It is disrupting them from their normal routine. The old folks that drink the Folgers and swear they won't drink anything else.
Right.
But that,
because they don't know no better. Yeah.
Right. They're like, okay, this is something new. Like, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all about chasing flavors for me. I am a single mom. My boys have watched me struggle throughout COVID, but they've also watched me pick myself back up throughout COVID. So
right.
This is building a legacy for them. This is supporting my friends, my family, in whatever manner I can support them and their businesses in the process. And then there's a lot of other things going on behind the scenes that come to the light soon about how to bigger and better support the Black community.
Okay. Good deal. You, I mean, because a lot of people have that same story of, COVID affected a lot of people. Mm-hmm. A lot of people lost jobs, a lot of businesses shut down, but not everybody is able to step out the way that you did. Not only starting a business, but if I read it correctly, you do this full time now, right?
I do it full time. Well, yeah, I do it full time, but I actually just started a job this week. Not because I had to, but I kind of miss a little bit of routine.
Okay.
The job will also help me propel myself in some other goals that I have in the space. But it does not interfere with Blackology.
Blackology. What was that motivating factor? Like, because I struggle with this. Like, man, I have ideas that I sit on, and that fear or those excuses, because I call it fear, it's really just excuses, to not to do it are there. What pushed you past that to say, you know what, I'm a step out and I'm gonna do this?
Honestly, my mentor. So I've been working with a mentor behind the scenes, and it's been a lot of self-work behind the scenes. I never had the confidence to do any of this. I never had the self-esteem to be out here and be in pictures. Working with my mentor, I think I started working with her February or March of last year. And we just started going step by step by step and having that support system. It's not just her, it's a group of us that are actually in this class together. Working with her, changing your mindset. It is all about mindset. As you start to heal, as you start to change your mindset, that allows you to do other things. Because I was I'm that. Yeah, I'm gonna go somewhere when I lose some weight. I'm gonna go, I'm
right.
Blah, 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 So if it wasn't for Mia, and that program and being able to learn how to shift my mindset, I don't know that I could have. I don't.
So that supporting cast with that foundation made it a little easier to step out and do what you're doing.
Yeah, and one thing that she teaches that she learned is that, it's cool to launch a business, but doing the self work has to come first. She did the
Right.
exact opposite and launched a business and then did the self work afterwards. But she was like, it's got to start there in order for you to keep going and get to the next level. But I still got my days where I'm like, should I really be doing this?
Yeah. What do you find difficult right now?
So, everybody expects me to be a coffee expert, and I'm not a coffee expert. I don't know the answers to everything. I'm still learning. So I find people trying to challenge my thinking or trying to see if they can, catch me up or whatever.
Yeah.
That, and I'm finding myself spreading thin, trying to give business advice to everybody. I got people reaching out like, hey, I see what you're doing. This is inspirational. Can I have some of your time? And I'm absolutely that person that's gonna give that time. But I'm also realizing that it ain't that much time
to get. Yeah, it's only so many hours in the day. Right. That, going back to what you said about the people challenging you. One thing, and this is I love everything about coffee. I'm not an expert by any means. I'm a novice at this. One of the things I admire about people are their palates, how they able to discern different tastes, different flavors and stuff. Like, I can't do it to save my life. But one of my pet peeves are those people who do kind of frown down on you because you're not as knowledgeable about certain things, or because you have a different coffee. When I went to that cupping class, one of the things I learned is like, coffee is like cooking crack.
Yeah.
The measurements, the it's so many different ratios and so many different things that's involved in it. The technical side, I almost shy away from because, in my opinion, it takes away from my experience. And to me, coffee is more about the experience of it than it is, okay, so you use this many grams to water. And I know it takes, it changes the subtlety of taste and things like that. My palate not that refined yet. So I can't tell if you use 16 grams or if you use 18 grams. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of one of my pet peeves about it. And I think that kind of turns people away from it sometimes, in my opinion. But I'm glad that you're not allowing it to deter you, because I know it's people out there trying to challenge you.
Yeah, and I've always said, it's about the experience for me. Like,
Right.
It's an experience. And I'm chasing flavors because I have a culinary background. Like,
okay.
I'm chasing flavors. That's what it is for me. Picking and creating the best possible flavor in a coffee. Not, I would love to learn how to roast, but I never claim to have roasted because I haven't.
Right.
But
I mean, I love it. I love it.
I gotta say, I be in your stories, man. You be giving the whole vibe with the music, the coffee. I'll be like, let me go see what he got.
Man, and see, that's my whole deal, man. When I first started thinking about owning a coffee shop, it wasn't because of the coffee. Because at that time, when I started thinking about it, I wasn't even drinking black coffee. I was going into coffee shops, getting on the computer, drinking, sugary lattes and things like that. But I fell in love with the atmosphere of a coffee shop. I fell in love with the vibe of it. And so that's what I chase everywhere that I go. And that's why I hit up all these different coffee shops to experience the atmosphere and the vibe. You right now you're strictly online, right? You do pop-ups and things like that.
Yep, strictly online.
Are you thinking about opening up a brick and mortar?
I am, and I'm trying to be strategic about it because I still do love to cook. I love to bake. So, it's gonna have to go hand in hand. I'm gonna have to be able to have a space to do my baking. I'm gonna have to have a space to do the coffee, but it also needs to be my warehouse, like where I'm doing my bagging, my grinding. You know, I can crank out 250 bags of coffee, grinding a bag in about 3-4 hours. But then it's
Wow.
a matter of where do you put it.
Yeah, storing it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You doing this all by yourself?
Yeah, my homie Josh comes through from time to time. He was my chef assistant at the sorority house.
Okay.
He's also a really good friend. Yeah, he's I call him my right hand man. Man, he be where I need him without even knowing that I need him.
That's good, man. That's good. You how did you get involved in culinary? You said you're a professional chef. How did that journey start?
I started cooking when I was 3.
Okay.
Mixing stuff up in the kitchen. And then I actually learned how to cook from my dad.
Okay.
And then got into my first job was at the Angus Barn, which is a world-renowned restaurant here in Raleigh. I did an internship in high school. And then I just knew after Johnson & Wales came to visit my school, I'm like, that's where I'm going, and I'm going to go do that.
Okay. And that's something you still love to do? You still love to cook?
Yeah, I still, you'll see food pictures pop up from time to time, but yeah, it's I enjoy putting smiles on people's faces through food and coffee. Like that's
yeah. And they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know, they go hand in hand. I was listening to you went live the other day, and you were I think you were getting ready to drop off some baked goods to a location. Is that something that you do a lot, including the coffee? Is somebody can hit you up and say, hey, I need some cupcakes or a cake or something like that, and you ready to drop that off as well?
Yep, I actually had a baking business, and I shut it down at the beginning of COVID, kind of like January, February. Because things get funny, people get funny, when stuff.
Yeah, right, right.
But I'm like, yeah, it's time. My friends, family, they'll hit me up and be like, hey, I need a cake, or hey, can you cater this, or of course, and, yeah.
Cool. That when I was reading on your website, I noticed that community, especially the Black community, and how coffee impacts the Black community. That's something that's big with you. What are some of your thoughts towards that? How can, because like you said earlier, what I'm realizing is the knowledge of coffee in the Black community is, it's not as in depth as it should be, in my opinion. I didn't start drinking black coffee until maybe 4 or 5 years ago. All I knew was Folgers, or Starbucks. There was a caramel latte from Starbucks or something like that.
Right.
But coffee has so many different avenues that people can take in it, and so many different, so much revenue that can be generated from it in the Black community. So many things. What's some of your ideas and some of your thoughts of how coffee can impact the Black community?
So I'm gonna hit it from a few different ways. So one, when I first launched, folks were like, Black people don't drink coffee. I'm like, who don't?
Right.
I'm like, that's an experience. So when I went into that storefront space, the temporary partnership storefront space, that was in the Black community. What I did there, which I plan on continuing to do, especially at pop-up shops, is let people sample the coffee. Like you can't, everybody's like, well, what's this? I've never heard of Kenyan coffee, or I've never heard of Rwanda. And you talk to them about the flavors about it first, and it's like, something that has citrus, like, no, I don't know if I want a coffee that has citrus, or I don't know if I want a coffee that has caramel.
Right.
Like, best way to tackle that is they gotta taste it.
They have to taste it, right?
Yep. So if you're educating them on different facets of the coffee and they're tasting it at the same time, then you start getting the education piece. You start bringing community in, And it's a very strong community here locally as well as
Ooh.
across the US that's been supportive and also sharing the knowledge that they're receiving from the coffee. So I feel like once one person is educated, we can start to educate other people. But then you take the folks that like the Starbucks and lattes and stuff like that. So if they come up and I'm doing a pop-up shop, I'm like, what can I get for you? They're like, I don't know what to get. First thing I say is, what would you get if you went to Starbucks? And they'll be like,
Right.
oh, blah, blah, blah. So I'll make that and they'll be like, oh my God, this is really good. And it's not super sweet like Starbucks is.
Right, right.
Put all of the sugar in
Oh,
there.
You don't. And that comes from, like you say, knowledge. I mean, just being exposed to it. And your pop-up shops, the things that you're doing, the performance, all that is that exposure that you're giving to people who may not, probably didn't haven't experienced coffee in that way. Opening up that door, that's all it takes. That's all it took for me. That one cup in class, and I was hooked. I was like, oh my God, I didn't. This is it for me.
Yeah.
What do you? Because my techniques are horrible. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm pretty. I have an espresso machine at the house now, so I'm getting pretty decent in pulling shots. As far as like pouring latte art, that's kind of that out the throw that out the window. You're big on pour overs.
Yeah.
How hard was it to kind of refine that technique? Because you can go on YouTube and it's 1,000 different ways that 1,000 people do pour overs. How did you refine your particular technique in doing it?
So Chris over at Get You Some Gear gifted me a book called Grounded. And that was the basics of coffee, but also the recipes with the coffee. So I started with the book.
Okay.
And, I went through all those recipes a few times and I'm like, this is not, it's still good flavor, but it's not strong enough for me. So a recipe that says 21 grams, I'm now at like 27 grams on a pour.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be bold, but there's more of that flavor that I need.
That flavor that hits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So it's like trial and error, really.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool, man. And that's something I'm playing with. I just started doing pour overs, a couple months ago too, here at the house. And it's probably now one of my favorite methods to go to. Before that, it was the AeroPress, but now, pour overs. I'm starting to fall in love with them. So I think I, make at least one a day, if not more. I hit the espresso machine more than anything because it's quick. I can just go knock out something before I go to work. But those pour, me and you both follow. Who was I listening to? I think it was Coffee Black going live, and he was interviewing another cat. I wish I knew what his name was, but something he said kind of hit home with me about his brewing method. He said that the enjoyment, the experience is in the brewing process for him. He said it's almost ritual for him. He said that's his his time of peace, his refuge, where he get his mind right. And so I started approaching my brewing process is just like anytime that I'm getting ready to do a pour over, anything like that, then I kind of take my time and kind of embrace the moment, in doing it. Ever since he said that, I just thought that was something interesting that he said, man. It's a vibe. It is a vibe. It is a vibe. You said the how is the Black community in coffee up there where you're at? Is it growing?
It's growing. It really is. So I actually, a part of this Blackology journey is my brother Steve with TCE Brewing Company.
That's my
homie.
Yeah, I'm trying to get him on the show too. Yeah.
He that's kind of who I learned from. That's who I learned to pull espresso shots from. That's who I started to draw coffees from in a more in-depth scenario. And he's another one that's super supportive. His family. He's super kind, super sweet, share information,
Yeah.
connect you with people. Yeah.
Yeah, real good dude, man. And his coffee is amazing as well.
Yeah.
I was excited to see it. I ordered a few bags online from him, but I was excited to see it down here at one of the shops that I go to here in Houston. They had a few bags, and I walked in and saw that. I was like a kid in the candy store, like I saw a celebrity or something. Like, oh, they got TC, and so I made sure I bought a couple bags. And your coffee is amazing as well. I've ordered a few bags from you. I even got ripping a mug right now. Like, man, yeah, like I said, it's your journey. And yeah, I know we can't get into it all in this limited amount of time that we have, but I mean, stepping out on faith the way you did to start Blackology, I can't say enough about it. Like I said, it motivates me to seeing how you do and how other people move kind of helped me step out to do what I'm doing now. Into the fields that I'm trying to dabble into myself, because y'all are so motivating. Tell everybody where they can go support you, how they can get you. I know you, if I'm not mistaken, you currently have a GoFundMe.
Yep.
For
a storefront.
Okay. Yeah.
So right now, the GoFundMe, there's a link to the GoFundMe and the website on Instagram. So if you follow on Facebook or Instagram, it's at Blackology Coffee Company. The website is www.blackologycoffeecompany.com. And we're actually getting ready to do a facelift on the website in the upcoming weeks. So
okay, cool, man. So yeah, man, any way that I can support, I'm gonna continue to buy products. If I ever make it to North Carolina, which I would like to, soon as the world open up, and not afraid of getting on an airplane. I'm definitely gonna try to come up there, man, and hit you up. I love to, soak in some knowledge from you. Just have a cup of coffee with you, man. You're a very cool person. You're cool to talk to, cool to follow on Instagram, and you have a fan in me for life.